And we have Dr. Aastha Sachdeva also with us. We will just give it a couple of more minutes for people to join in. So would request everyone just to please hold on for a couple of minutes. Thank you so very much. Monica says, hello, hi, Monica. Thank you for joining in. We have put together a good 10 of us in the session right now. Would request all of you to please hold on for a couple of more minutes for others to join us too. And we appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you for joining in, everyone. Please stay patient. We will be starting our GLIBTalk 2.2 with Dr. Aastha Sachdeva very soon. We're just waiting for a few more people to join us in the next couple of minutes. It's 5:01. We will give 2 more minutes before we get started for everyone to join in. And we really thank you so much for taking your time out on a Sunday evening to join this wonderful session with one of the best psychologists that we have. We have with us Dr. Aastha Sachdeva, who is also there with us online. Very soon, I would be introducing Dr. Aastha Sachdeva to all of you. So, request to please hold on and bear with us for 2 more minutes. Thank you. Also, in the meantime, guys, if you have any questions during this course of the talk show or the interview session that we have right now about Dr. Aastha Sachdeva sharing her experience on psychology, uh, if you have any questions, please raise your hand or put your questions in the chat box. We will be more than happy to take your questions and ask Doctor, and Doctor would be definitely more than happy to answer. We are just going to give it 1 more minute. We have around about 18 of us right now. Uh, so please bear with us till then. Someone is asking, what is this GLIBTalk? Okay, Sojana, you registered yourself. This GLIBTalk is GLIBTalk 2.2 with Dr. Aastha Sachdeva, who is one of the best psychologists that we have. And that's what this GLIBTalk is all about. It is not a webinar. It is not a one-way Gyan session. It's not only uh, two people talking. It is about everyone asking questions. Anyone needs any kind of a psychological help. Anyone, because this is not something that everyone wants to talk about it very, very freely and openly. So yes, so it's 5:03. We have Dr. Aastha Sachdeva. So, namaskar, good evening, hello, and welcome to GLIBTalk 2.2. Thank you so very much for taking your time out. I'm sorry, I'm a little messed up. I have a cap on my hair. During this lockdown, you don't get time to chop off your hair. You are not allowed to go to the salon. You are not even allowed to call Urban Club to come to your house and chop off your hair. So please bear with me for my cap. The first time I'm in a host. I'm a host. I'm a talk show where I'm wearing a cap. So please bear with me. I thank you so very much for being a part of GLIBTalk 2.2. I reached out to a lot of you over a phone call early in the morning, and a lot of you remembered, a lot of you did not remember. So it was a pleasure to recognize that you registered with us and signed up with us for this wonderful talk. Uh, it is very, very difficult now. The situation is very difficult. We all know we all are going through a pandemic. So this is not a webinar. I want to make it very, very clear to all of you. It is not a webinar. It is a talk show. It is an online talk show where we get different personalities from different genres, different facets of life, and people who have got their experience to share and put it on a canvas is what this show is all about. So that's what GLibTalk is all about. My name is Samrat Ghosh. I am your host for the evening. I'm a former radio jockey with Red FM 93.5 way back in 2008 and 2010. I was the first ever Hindi radio jockey in Red FM Hyderabad. I think lockdown has apparently pushed me to think that why not starting something of this sort where we can get a lot of people on the same platform and talk to them and share their experiences. So here, without any further delay, it's 5:05. I present Dr. Aastha Sachdeva with us, who is our chief guest for this evening. Dr. Sachdeva, if you can just, yes. There we have Dr. Aastha Sachdeva. Thank you so very much, ma'am, for taking your time out and joining us on this evening on a 5 to 6. I know I literally had to come and tell you, and I really needed the time. Okay, ma'am, please, we need you there because this is not a social cause as such, but this is a talk show where we would like to know more about psychology. We would like to help people who need any kind of a psychological help. So here we have Dr. Aastha Sachdeva, who is one of the psychologists and who has been a faculty in a university. He has been associated with multiple other organizations. We'll get to hear from her now, and then we start our talk show for the evening. So if you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand and put your questions in the chat box, or raise your hand and unmute yourself and ask your questions. So Dr. Sachdeva, over to you. Please, if you can just let us know more.
Hi, good evening.
And GLibTalk. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Samrat, for having me over. Good evening, everyone. My name is Aastha, as Samrat has already introduced me to you. I am a counseling psychologist. I have been working as a counselor since last more than 16 years now. I've worked in a full-time role with a couple of schools and colleges or universities. So my primary forte and my primary experience being with the youth. I have taught psychology. I have worked as a counselor in multiple roles, helping children, students, talk to them, talk through the psychosocial issues, talk through with them, and helping them for career counseling and issues related to mental and emotional health. So in the last more than 3 years or so, I've been trying to work more in a consulting role and establish my own brand, which is called The Counsel. And Samrat asked me to share a little about Counsel. So Counsel is my initiative, and I termed it so because the term psychology derives from it's made up of a combination of two words, psyche and ology. So psyche actually literally means soul in Latin. So that is where, I got this thing that, mental health services are actually dedicated towards helping people revisit their souls, because everything, mind or body, physiology, emotional health, psychosocial concerns, everything is related inside of us. Whatever we are from the inside gets projected on the outside. So of course, at Counsel, we believe that every individual has the ability to be the master of their lives by mastering the skills and abilities of their souls. So the idea is to provide counseling services, do workshops. So now I'm in a consulting role with a couple of schools, and I offer my services in terms of, offering workshops, counseling for students, for staff, and for teachers, parents, etc. Samrat's initiative, that is GLibTalk, is an interesting one, with him having the history of having worked as an RJ. And now, very few people would know that he's, he's heading the marketing division of the Pan India for he'll share himself. Okay, so he doesn't want his professional profile to be talked about over here, but yeah. So it's interesting that how he's pursuing his passion over the weekend, spending hours reaching out to people and trying to understand various domains of lives, of human lives, which are related to people in different ways. So thank you, Samrat, for pepping up people's lives with your little glib talk and reaching out and helping more and more audiences learn about the every profession. I'm sure in the process, listeners, and if there are any students or people who are trying to explore various careers through your initiative, they may learn about a lot of domains and professional life of how each professional works, what are the dynamics of each work scenario, and it may help them in taking decisions about their lives. So thanks for having me, Samrat, and thank you, everyone. It's a Sunday evening, and everybody has taken time out to join in today to know more about mental health and psychology, and I'm so glad to be addressing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think that was really, really very, very enchanting to hear it from you, Doctor. First of all, once again, thank you for taking your time out. I know I've been trying to get hold of you for quite a long time to discuss about certain things, but your schedule is completely packed. You are completely packed throughout the day. So getting hold of Dr. Aastha Sachdeva was really, really tough. But it is what you call generosity is all about, right? Because there are people like you who all are there, who all are willing to help is what matters. Now, coming to your life, Doctor, we just want to know a little bit and just touch there. Why did you pick up psychology? Has it been in your passion? Did you always think right from your academics? Because I see there are a lot of people out here that are from different genres, right? We have an HR personnel, we have working people, we have students out here who are aspiring to be somebody tomorrow. So, and you definitely have an inspiring story to share. Why don't you let us know a little more about why did you pick up this as a profession? Had it been your forte? Did you always plan for it right from your academic days, or is it just happened just like that? You started, your inclination towards psychology because you wanted to help people. So, if you can let us know a little more about it.
So yeah, so flashback, like more than 20 years ago, when I was in the process of choosing my subjects post 10th, and in India, typically that is the time when most of the path towards career orientation, begins to get explored for kids. So that is the time when I was really contemplating what stream is it that suits me. What is that stream that I'll find an amalgamation of my interests, my aptitude, my characteristics. I should be able to enjoy what I do, but at the same time, I should be good at it also. I should be able to, connect with it inside. And with people, with with whatever work I do, I should feel connected with it. So so apparently when I was choosing my streams, the school used to do their process of allocation of streams. So it was just a formality for us to kind of put in our preferences in the forms. So the school gave me one subject, and I still remember the day back then. They had put me into medicine, like science PCB combination. Okay, so I was a little worked up with the entire process of decision making. Choices were there, and our school had every choice possible in humanities, commerce, and sciences, and it was on me now what to do. So I remember walking up with my father one day to one of my class 10 teachers. And, although we had a counselor back then in the school, we were like, wait a minute, this is not the place that people have to go to. And as much as I wanted to go discuss stuff, there was a peer group around me that would obviously judge me if they would see, that people would talk about it to others. And then career counseling was not like a big thing back then. anyway, so we reached out to one of the teachers who knew me well, who had known me for a couple of years, and I discussed my confusion with her, and I discussed my that you have put my name here, but I'm still in the process of exploring. And what she said, so she gave me a one-liner, and my father still remembers it. And she said that, Asta, I will tell you one thing. You have the freedom to choose, so you can sit through for a few classes and for a few days in one subject, and explore for yourself. So we are giving you that flexibility, and then you make a call. But then she told me one thing, and she said that, whatever you do in life, make sure that you are the cream. And that was it. That was the, like, ऐसा होता है ना कि एक मंत्र आ जाता है आपके पास कि sometimes there are people who will just give you that one thing and you will catch hold of that. And that was that one thing for me, that she said, don't think what people want you to do. Don't think what the school, what the people around think of you are good at. You think what is that stream where you can make the best of it. So so that was like amusing. It caused musings in my head, and it was like I kept reflecting and pondering over those that statement. And that gave me that choice, enabled me to make my choice. It kind of gave me the responsibility that now it's upon me. If I pick something, it will be my responsibility to prove my life with it. So that was it. And I ended up attending a few classes in one stream. I said, no, this is not me. Accounts is not me, and this is not me. And then finally, psychology. We had psychology back then in grade 11 and 12, and I discovered that I had that passion for. I used to like the subject. I mean, I would not say that I really knew that my passion was psychology, but I was tempted, I was lured by the theories that I was reading at that time. And that just kind of strengthened over 2 years in +2. And that gave me like a more of a confidence. And I pursued psychology as an honors course in Jesus and Mary College. And then there was no looking back from there. So yeah, it's sometimes you just kind of you expose yourself to various kind of things and subjects and experiences, and you learn by your exposure to them.
Very nice.
So that was my journey. That day and today, I've been into psychology.
Correct.
Ever since.
That's what inspires everybody. Listen to your heart, guys. I mean, dil ke suno, suno. If you think that something that really you want to do it, trust me, you would do it. I mean, when I started GILBTALK, I did not think about this. I mean, I was more of a person better off behind the mic in a closed door room, जहाँ पे पूरे instruments, mic वगैरह सब कुछ होता है, and लाखों लोग आपको सुन रहे हैं. But the moment you step out of that room and you get to see people around, you actually take a back seat. You say, oh, there are so many eyes, like so many bullets are actually hitting at you at the same time together. So I always love talking to people, and always it's a knowledge exchange program. In the previous session, we had one of the HR veterans in the industry, Mr. Vikas Dua. And we thank Vikas Dua for being a part of this session with us today. Thank you so much, Vikas, for joining, along with everyone else who are a part of the session. Now, Doctor, we just want to ask you, in a layman's term, सबको पता नहीं होता ये बात, right? सब psychology और psychiatry में mix हो जाते हैं, right? What is the basic difference of psychology and psychiatry? Psychology में हमें पता है कि counseling लेते हैं लोग, right? Because we are just like a third party outsider, जिन्होंने सिर्फ वो English term ही सुना है, right? They say, okay, इसको psychological problem है. It's not a problem. It's just like it's like any other issue that you go through. And it's a part of mental health, as you rightly mentioned. So psychology or psychiatry mein, what are the basic differences? And if anybody is not feeling good right in their mind, considering mental health, because that's what is working every time, what is your view on this, so that you can let all the participants know about it, the basic difference? And जब भी वहाँ पे कोई problem होता है, हमें लगता है कि we are not feeling quite good. There are days, right? You just get up. You get up and you think you are not in the best of your mood. One aberration is fine. One exception, one day you are just not in your mood. But there are multiple times ऐसा होता है when it is recurring. What is your suggestion and how are you going to differentiate?
Yeah. So the first part of your question, like psychiatry and psychology. So the issues addressed for both in both the fields are the same. Psychiatry and psychology, both of them address the concerns of mental illness. However, the approaches are different. So psychiatry is a specialization that a person picks up after completing his MBBS. So it's a degree in medicine. So you do your MBBS, you do your medicine, degree in medicine, and then you specialize in psychiatry. So your MD is in psychiatry, which means that just like you have an ophthalmologist for a problem in the eye, you walk up to a neurologist for a problem in some part of your brain or nervous system. Similarly, there is a specialist that treats you through medicines for mental illnesses. So that is a psychiatrist. So the basic qualifications are different, because a psychologist may not be an MBBS or somebody holding a medicine degree. He is somebody who's trained in counseling and therapy. Now, counseling and therapy are treatments which are done through interacting with the client, interacting one-on-one with the client, with his family, with his if need be, with his friends, or a group therapy kind of a thing. And then there are various domains within therapy and counseling, like just like to treat a physical disease, there is an approach like an allopathic, ayurvedic, homeopathic. So similarly, in the domain of therapy also, there are like different approaches, like there's a psychodynamic therapy, there's behavioral therapy, etc. So counseling and therapy is more of interacting with the client, talking him through his struggles, his issues, his anxieties, his stresses that are bothering him, or it could be related to a family member, but no prescription of drugs or medicines. Whereas a psychiatrist has the ability to prescribe drugs and medicines. A psychologist may be a master's in clinical psychology, counseling psychology, or organizational psychology, followed by either an MPhil or a PhD. So that is what I am doing. So I'm a counseling psychologist. I do not have the right to prescribe any medication, but I can treat, I can help people through counseling. So that's the key difference. The second part of your question was that, if somebody is experiencing any of these symptoms, or not feeling right in the mind, just 2 hours ago, I mean, it's not been, just 2 hours ago, we heard the sad demise of Sushant Rajput, the film actor, the guy who played the lead role in Dhoni and many other successful movies. Now, such an experience can be because of two reasons. One is that suicide is driven by chronic depression, feelings of hopelessness, helplessness, lack of control over life, a long drawn anxiety, long drawn depressive feelings about fears of uncertainty, fear of what is going to happen in the future, which most of us actually are experiencing during the lockdown. So one is that chronic depression might lead to suicide. And if you see in the last 2 to 3 months, the statistics of right now, we are just focusing upon the statistics of COVID positive cases and people who are dying because of COVID. However, you will see in 6 months to a year, the journals are all going to be filled with statistics of how many people have been depression positive in the last 6 months. How many people have been found to be OCD, because we've all become obsessed with using sanitizers and cleaning up surfaces. And so of course this is a disease which is making all of us obsessed, but then we need to, like, there's going to be a very thin line dividing our normal behavior from the abnormal. So or the other reason for committing suicide is, like, it can be an impromptu reaction to not being able to manage anxiety, to not being, you're so overwhelmed that you react rather than respond. So whenever you realize that you are going in that zone, so feelings, emotions, they are very contagious. So whenever you feel that you're feeling negative, you're feeling low, and they will keep holding you back. They will not enable you to get into a zone where you can seek out social support. But that's exactly the time when you need to watch out for how much of it is distressing you, how much of it is making you dysfunctional, how much of it is holding you back from functioning in your normal day-to-day life. So when your depression, when your anxiety, when your stresses begin to hinder your day-to-day functioning, they begin to hinder your normal day-to-day activities, that is when you need to make sure that you seek support. So it could start from social support, it could start from talking to a friend, having a cathartic conversation with somebody who's available in your immediate environment, or it could be reaching out to a professional, depending upon how grave you feel the situation is. Because talking out, a lot of people feel that counseling and therapy are what is it that the other person is going to do, what is it, how is it that his ears are going to help me. When you know that you are being heard, you are talking in an environment which is a non-judgmental environment, a space where a person can offer his ears to you without coming to any judgments about your character, your personality, your morality, etc. You can be yourself, and that very conversation will be cathartic in nature. It will lead to healing of that mental and emotional agony that you've been experiencing. So whenever you feel that there are people around you who are going through those symptoms, or you are going through those symptoms, these are the things you need to watch out for. Is the person like uh, gaining a lot of weight or losing a lot of weight? Is the person having problems with his sleep patterns? Like he's totally like, if I were to stand in a lecture room and see some of my students yawning or drowsing away, and every single day that's a pattern with them, then I need to be worried. One off day, if there's somebody who's dozing off in the classroom, it doesn't bother me. But if it's a pattern, that means that there is something wrong in the person's lifestyle, in his biological clock, which needs to be addressed. So weight, changes in a mood, a person has become too irritable, a person doesn't know how to respond to situations, he's always reacting, no control over his temper, a person doesn't enjoy his day-to-day daily activities, he doesn't want to go out with friends, things he used to do earlier and now he's not doing. Those are all the symptoms of chronic depression, stress, anxiety. Also sometimes anxiety of course manifests differently in physiological terms. It will show up more like in terms of your dryness of mouth, palpitations, butterflies in the stomach, heart racing, pulse racing. So anxiety is more of a physiological manifestation, while depression is more of an emotional manifestation. So whenever you feel any of these symptoms you are experiencing, people around you are experiencing, it's always good to be on guard and make sure that that person is available with some emotional support at that point of time.
Great. I think, yeah, this year has been very, very tragic. As you rightly mentioned, that we have lost quite a few eminent personalities.
Mm.
And today's
Right.
news was really heartbreaking, and I don't know what is
Mm.
happening. 2020, I think,
Yeah.
is the year which everyone is waiting for it to go. पता नहीं कब जाएगा
Yeah.
ये, just बस चला जाए, बस चला जाए. The more we are trying to recover, the more we are hoping, the more we are keeping our finger crossed, the more bad news are coming. I mean,
Mm.
that's what I think. In a very very external way, or in a very subconscious way, it is impacting everybody, right? A death news is not a good news for anyone, for that matter, whether the person is related to you, not related to you, right? It's somebody that you have seen, and there are definitely, these are known personalities because of which it comes into the news. But there are so many things which is on social media, be it on Facebook, be it on Instagram, be it on any other YouTubes. They are really, really devastating, and it really disturbs you, right? So I think you have given a great insight in terms of when you see kind of an aberrations, these kind of changes or anomalies that you're seeing, be it a sleepless night, be it you're gaining weight, there is a disorder that you realize, वो अंदर से आती है, right? वो बात कि जब मुझे लगता है कि no, I am not good, I'm not feeling good. So
Right.
initial stage, you recommend that talk to your family, talk to your friends, talk to somebody who are really close to you. But when is that threshold? जब आप recommend करते हो किसी को कि now this is the time for you need professional help. Now, how would the person realize? I mean, does the person should go to a psychologist first, or the person should directly go to a psychiatrist first? Because वो एक dilemma चलता है दिमाग में, right? Because not everyone is very, very well educated, especially people like us who does not have in-depth medical knowledge. For कुछ भी होता है, तो we just directly run to the doctor, to the nearest clinic. But what is that thin line, that cliff on the edge, or you're standing on that particular edge on the cliff, that you think that you would guide somebody to go to a psychologist or go to a psychiatrist?
So, within the domain of mental illness, we primarily categorize illnesses into two domains. Like, one is a set of illnesses which are related primarily to emotional management. So, things related to how to address failures and successes in one's life, how to address changes in one's life, how to address one's behavioral reactions, emotional reactions. So all of that is contained in one space, and those are referred to as neurotic disorders, wherein the person doesn't know how to respond to situations, he doesn't have control over himself, but at the same time he's very much aligned with his life. He's very much doing stuff. He may be maladaptive, he may not be doing it in the best manner possible, but he's doing things in his life. So he's walking along the path of whatever needs to be done in his life, but he's just not very highly functional individual. The other domain of mental illness is when the person has lost touch with his reality. Now, something like, if a person is not able to he's not hearing the right voices, he's not seeing, so he's hearing voices which are not present, he's having hallucinations, auditory, visual, gustatory, he's having delusions. So his thought process is something like, I'm being controlled by an external entity. So when the behavior is like in a domain of not in touch with this complete reality, that is when definitely psychiatric help is required. So to bring the hallucinations and delusions or the psychotic symptoms under control, definitely a psychologist's role is limited if the symptoms are in their active mode. If the person is in an active episode of schizophrenia, is in an active episode of mania or a bipolar disorder, definitely the first thing, even though a psychiatrist and a psychologist may work in alignment, but primarily the psychiatric treatment will begin first, because that's primarily because of the changes in the neurotransmitters which are released by the brain. And those need to be brought to normal levels so that we can start talking to the person and talking him through what are the stressors. So definitely there are some stressors which have triggered those reactions. Definitely there are some emotional stressors that a person has been kind of suppressing for a long time in his life, and which have just burst out in the form of psychotic illnesses. So for psychotic illnesses, definitely the first thing to do is see a psychiatrist, get a help, but definitely both are required. To start with a psychiatric intervention, then followed through, because the family doesn't need a psychiatric intervention. The family needs more support and counseling and talking through for them to understand how this treatment is going to work. But for neurotic disorders like stress, anxiety, OCD, phobias, somatoform disorders, so these are the illnesses where you may not need a psychiatric prescription. You can work just fine with the counselor's help, with the therapist's help. Now, why this happens is that because, more often than not, we are most of our life and our behaviors are governed by the unconscious mind. So you get up and you start walking. So if you're thirsty right now, what's going to be your response? So if you have a water bottle right next to you, and your throat is drying up, so you won't think about it too much, right? You may just turn off the camera if you feel it's inappropriate and pick up your water bottle and have your water. So you don't need too much of information processing to get into that action. You don't need too much of information processing to know that, okay, I need to walk up from here to the kitchen to get my water bottle, right? So, and walking is something that you do unconsciously, almost unconsciously. So according to psychologists, most part of the human mind programming, the brain has been programmed. About 95% of our behavior has been programmed. The reasons for that behavior, that programming has been done by 7 to 8 years of age. So most of what we do, most of how we react to situations in our present life is a result of the way we have been programmed in our past during our childhood years. However, a psychologist's help is very important in this domain to help you reprogram, to help you unlearn the past if it is making you dysfunctional, and to relearn newer habits. So a psychological intervention is good enough till the time that it requires behavior modification, it requires a thought modification, it requires an implementation of certain techniques to modify a person's behavior. So reconditioning can happen through a psychological support system. Relearning can happen through a psychological support system. But the moment it comes to when the symptoms are very grave, they are beyond, like you are not in touch with your reality, that is when you definitely need a psychiatric intervention. However, sometimes what happens is that even with depressive cases, even if the depression is long drawn, it's been a chronic depression, or the stress is something that gives you panic attacks a lot, then sometimes a psychiatric, so even though it's not a psychotic disorder, depression is neurotic in nature, but still, if it's making you so dysfunctional that, you lose control over your job performance, you are not able to cope up with your work life, you're not able to cope up with your work at home also, like you can't manage dealing with your family members, you're maladaptive, you are always in arguments, and you are not in control, then sometimes, because of a total dysfunctional life, you may need to a psychiatrist. But that decision, generally a psychologist, if you go to him, he or she will be able to guide you whether you need a prescriptive medication or not right now. So it works more in alignment, both the psychiatrist and the psychologist in some cases, while in other cases, only psychological help may be helpful.
Right. आपने पानी के बारे में बोला, मुझे सच में प्यास आ गया, and I thankfully have a water bottle right next to me, so I will definitely drink that water. In the meantime, we have our audience asking certain questions. Guys, this is not a two-way conversation. This
Sure.
is not me asking question and Dr. Sachdeva is answering. We have two Harsimran Kaurs. I don't know which Harsimran Kaur has message, but please unmute yourself and ask your question, and keep it short and simple, Harsimran, so that everyone else also gets a chance to ask their respective questions. So, Harsimran, to you, unmuting
Sure,
yourself.
thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving me a chance. Hi, Dr. Aastha. I know it has been a long time. I don't know if you remember
Nice
me,
to
and I
see you,
believe
Harsimran.
you have played a very important part in my
Of
life.
course
So,
I do.
so just wanted to join and see and hear you talk again.
Thank you so much, Harsimran, firstly. Yeah.
I'm gonna keep it short. I know we can do it somewhere else too. But I wanted to ask you, do you think it's
Sure, we always.
do you think it's we should make it compulsory for children or for students who are reading psychology, or not even reading psychology, compulsory therapy treatment or compulsory counseling sessions, the way we have sports session, the way we have art sessions, I mean the classes, do you think we should make it compulsory for them to, get exposure, um, so that they know from the beginning what counseling and therapy is and how it can help? Um, After doing the graduation, people understand, who does, like in psychology, who get their graduation in psychology, they do realize what it is. Some unfortunate situations make us realize what psychology is. But if we give them a chance, we can expose them to this, do you think it will be more acceptable and the stigma will go down or something like that? So I was wondering if you could share some light over there. Thank you.
Sure, Harsimran. Thank you for the question. And Samrat, just for you to know, she's a psychologist in the making and one of my ex-students. And it gives me immense pride to see, my own students taking up the field and giving the credit to me, saying that I've played an important role in their lives. But thank you so much, Harsimran. And I know a little space from where this question comes up, because she's somebody who's pursued psychology until grade 12 in India over here, and now she's pursuing in the US. So it is. I do understand that. The stigma is more with our culture, Harsimran. I'm sure you would not have seen so much of reluctance in where you are right now for people to be seeking therapy. Exposure does make a lot of impact. Like I said, that back then, even in our school, when we were students, we did have a counselor, but she was hardly approached by the students. So that thing has to break up. We need to demystify, we need to destigmatize therapy and counseling, and the only way to do is provide people with an opportunity to interact with the psychologist and let them know that a psychologist or a counselor is as pivotal a part of your life as a community doctor, available in your local locality and area. So it will definitely help people understand that talking may help. Like all of these cases of, say, suicide or depression hitting in, it kind of reinforces your trust in the fact that it's so important to talk. It's so important to vent out your feelings which have been pent up for a long time, or your inability to deal with failures. So more often than not, human beings are inherently programmed to deal with life, to deal with failures. Okay, because if we look at Darwin's theory, which is the evolutionary theory, we see that humans have evolved over the years, and that evolution has happened in all senses of the term: physiological, psychological, cognitive, in all senses of the term. But if we look at it from the perspective, so we are inherently programmed to deal with problems and struggles in life. But what becomes tough for us as individuals is to deal with problems after we have seen success. So that is the problem. Like, nobody wants to hit the rock bottom after they have reached the mountaintop. So that is where, we need to prepare people to seek help, to seek support, to have a support system to
Dr. Sachdeva, you are on mute. I think by mistake you put yourself on mute.
Oh, so sorry. So thank you, Samrat, for pointing it. So definitely Harsimran's, question has a point, and I totally second that thought that we need to expose as many people as possible to a compulsory mental health, professional, and an exposure for therapy and sessions, so that they really know how it can benefit to them early in their lives.
Brilliant. Thank you so very much, Doctor, for answering that question. Harsimran, I think you got the answer, the desired answer that we really were looking for. And we didn't know we had an audience right from US. So our show is international. Very nice. Congratulations. I didn't know in the first 2 weeks that.
Yeah, your show will go international. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Harsimran. And two sisters, you both are lovely sisters. I think you are going to be the next shining star in psychology. So all the very best for and best wishes from our end. We have the other Harsimran right now, who is pursuing her HR, human resource, very, very close to each other. So other Harsimran, I'm sorry, I'm taking other Harsimran because there are two Harsimran. Other Harsimran, please unmute yourself and feel free to ask your question.
Hello, a very good evening, ma'am.
Hi, good evening.
टीचर्स हमेशा ऐसे ही क्यों होते हैं, इतना दबे क्यों होते हो? एकदम फुल फ्लेजेड क्वेश्चन करो, कोई बात नहीं है. This is a talk show, this is not a ज्ञान session.
Yeah. So actually, as sir said, that I'm pursuing my HR. So currently, I'm pursuing it. So I find myself, my interest lies in the psychology. So I feel that if I pursue with psychology, which will mean at the end complement my HR domain. So I want you to please explain me more about that. If I in future I really want to do a PhD program, but for that please explain me that if I complement that thing with my HR, so how it would will help me, and at which domain should I focus more upon so that it would be go hand in hand.
Sure. Harsimran, thank you for the question. And I think we can discuss this definitely more at length in a one-on-one mail, and I'll share my mail ID with you, because it's always good to know more before I make any comment in terms of what is right for you to pursue in your career. But definitely psychology is a domain, because psychology is nothing but the study of, and that to a scientific study. So it's not a commonsensical study, it's a scientific study of human behavior. And whatever domain you pick up, whether it's HR, it's hospitality, it's medicine, it's social, networking, whatever domain of whatever profession you pick up, whatever work domain you pick up, it's humans that you are dealing with. Even if you want to sit alone and work on your work desk and create, you want to be an engineer and create a product, you really need to know what is the demand of humans and only to that demand you will do the manufacturing of the product is going to happen. So definitely psychology can be combined with HR, and it's a great combination, because recruitment, training, personnel selection, all of this is a part of a domain of psychology called organizational psychology. So all of that is a good amalgamation with HR, but definitely how you can do it, and for you whether it's suitable and how to take it further, we can definitely connect on a one-on-one basis. Harsimran.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Harsimran.
You're most welcome.
Asking the question. And just to let everyone know, guys, if you really want to connect with Dr. Aastha Sachdeva, please feel free to connect with her on LinkedIn. She's on Instagram by the name of Counsol, so you can go ahead and follow her on Instagram and get in touch with her. She has a Facebook page called Counsol, Counsoul. So you can follow her on that page. And if you have any questions, personal questions, please feel free to reach out to her. I think she would be a great help. And in the meantime, it is my sincere request to all the audience, if you can please like our Facebook page and our Instagram page. And if you want to follow me on LinkedIn, it's name Samrat Ghosh. You can definitely connect with me on LinkedIn, or you can follow our Instagram page and our Facebook page. You all have received a personalized email to your mailboxes. So please go to your mails, and just a simple click would be definitely a great help for us to promote our page, to reach out to the maximum audience possible. We have a question from Poonam. Poonam, if you want to ask a question to Dr. Sachdeva, you can definitely unmute yourself and ask a question, or I can ask a question on your behalf. Doctor, she's asking that, my question to Dr. Aastha is, what do psychologists think but keep it to themselves about depressed people? I didn't understand the question, but obviously I think it's privacy, right? You definitely do not disclose anybody's mental health or any status about anyone. Do you want to talk about it, Doctor, by reading the question? I didn't get the question quite. Prudently.
Yeah, I'm just reading the question too, Samrat. Just give me a moment. Think, but keep to themselves about depressed people. So, do you mean, Poonam, the confidentiality issues? I am.
What she's
It could be. I mean, I'll just answer the question because if Poonam, if you want to ask it by yourself, good enough. Otherwise, I'll answer it on the basis of my understanding. So, two things I can interpret from this question is one is why do depressed people keep it to themselves? So, that is something that we really need to be cautious if that's the point you are making, that we need to be cautious as observers and as people who are, sensitive towards mental illnesses, that if there is anybody in our environment who is prone and that's the reason I started by sharing all those symptoms, that if somebody is having any of these symptoms, we need to be on guard we need to be really on guard and make sure the person seeks help at the right time. So one is that. Two, if your question meant that do psychologists keep it to themselves, that yes, psychologists are trained in confidentiality issues. I have a little bit of concern here that a lot of times what happens is that people feel कि psychology तो common sensical है, ये तो इतनी अकल तो हमारे अंदर भी है, we don't really need somebody else to tell us. So great, if you can lead your life, I mean, अगर चल रहा है सब ठीक ठाक and you feel you can manage your emotions and your life, it is fine. You don't have to go to a psychologist. But then there may be people in your environment that you may feel who are going through those symptoms. Then the best thing to do is to actually, take them support them towards mental health professionals, because yes, they are trained to maintain confidentiality. So that I hope that, because it's the training, it's the background training that helps them to kind of maintain a non-judgmental attitude while listening to people, to maintain an empathetic and a compassionate conversation. So that's all. If there's anything else,
we have a lot of
some more questions are.
We have a lot of people they really want to ask questions. So we have one of our participants who is the father of an 8-year-old daughter, and he's asking, what kind of conversation do you suggest I should build to keep my daughter and myself aware of mental health and well-being? I think that's a very good question. Sumit is asking this.
So, all right. Sumit, thank you for the question. That kind of in itself is an indication of an enlightened, parenting happening, that, as a parent, you are cautious and you want to make sure that, your child is protected. So definitely, helping the child, one is to understand, I just spoke about a few minutes earlier, that helping him to live in the present moment is very important. We, Samrat just said, that we are all wanting 2020 khatam ho jaye, right? So so it has actually become a fear for us, that the fear of uncertainty, the fear of going through losses, the fear of it has sinked into our system so much that it's affecting the quality of our present life. So if we have to do anything with to make sure that our kids are well aware of how to maintain their mental health, the first thing that we can do to help our kids is, one, to help them learn to live in the present moment. Rather than rushing through the present moment, let them learn to live every moment of their lives. Because in any case, time to waqt to chala hi jayega. But how we respond to those moments right now, right here, is very, very important. See, there's no guarantee of happiness. There's no guarantee कि अगर कोई डॉक्टर है तो उसको heart illness नहीं होगी. Similarly, there is no guarantee कि अगर आपके पास पैसा है तो आपको कोई problem या losses या suffering नहीं आएगी life में. So life will change, and life will change unexpectedly for sure for each one of us. But we need to teach our kids the skills to respond to every moment of our life, and not react to those moments, not rush through those moments of life. And secondly, I think another important thing is, छोटे होते से ही बच्चे को financial literacy देना is very important. So, making the child training him not to work for money, telling him or training him how the money works for you. So, that's something, where I feel that Warren Buffett is kind of playing a very important role, through his own life, like how he started investing at such an early age of about 11 years. And he said that, it was all my parents, my father's guidance in the investment industry that led me to do this, to become aware and to start investing. And, so it all starts very early in life. So making the child cautious and aware of how money can work for you, rather than how you need to, follow success or chase money. So these are two things. The moment we train our kids to live life in the present moment and yet be productive enough to be prepared for an unprecedented situation in life, so by telling them how money works for you, we are actually training them for managing risks and failures in their lives. So when we have done that training, I think, we really don't need to worry about how the child is going to react or respond to failures in his life. He will definitely be trained in the domain of strength, courage, compassion, to move ahead with whatever comes through, to sail through with the wind, actually.
Brilliant. We need to also respect the time for the best interest of everyone's
Sure.
ability. So we will take 3 more questions before we end up this particular session. We have Ravindra who wanted to ask a question. Ravindra, you want to unmute yourself and ask the question to Dr. Sachdeva directly?
Hi everyone. कैसे हैं सब लोग? मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि सर मेरी एक फाउंडेशन है, सानिध्य फाउंडेशन के नाम से।
मैं यहाँ का आपको अगर सवाल पूछना है तो आपका शक्ल दिखाएं।
ओके एक्चुअली मेरी फाउंडेशन है सानिध्य फाउंडेशन के नाम से, है ना। और हम लोग ऐसे लोगों पे काम करते हैं जो मतलब जिनके बच्चे चाइल्ड लेबर पे काम करते हैं एक तरीके से, और वो बच्चे काम करते हैं कहीं ना कहीं, और हम उनके पेरेंट्स को काउंसलिंग करते हैं कि भैया आप उनको बच्चों से काम ना कराएं, क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट ने सारी फैसिलिटी दी हुई है बच्चों को पढ़ाने के लिए। तो फिर भी कुछ दिन रुकने के बाद में फिर वापस से वो बच्चे काम पे लग जाते हैं। मतलब जब तक हमारे केयर टेकिंग में रहते हैं वो तब तक तो वो वहां से हट जाते हैं, और कुछ दिन रुकने के बाद में फिर से उनके पेरेंट्स उनको काम के लिए भेज देते हैं। और हम ये नहीं कह सकते कि वो गरीब है, क्योंकि अगर एक बंदा 500 से 1000 रुपए ना अपने ड्रिंक पे या किसी खाने पीने पे खर्च करा तो गरीब नहीं होगा। तो वहां पे हम लोग क्या पेरेंट्स को काउंसलिंग करें कि भाई देखो 5000 मतलब 1000 रुपए दिन के आप खर्च करो ड्रिंक करने पे या किसी और काम पे या बाजार में कुछ पैसे लगाने पे, तो वहां पे क्या बच्चों को करियर जरूरी है उनके लिए। अगर बच्चे बढ़ जाएंगे, बच्चे पढ़ लिख जाएंगे, कुछ बन जाएंगे, तो हो सकता है कि उनको वहां उस हालत में नहीं रहना पड़े। तो मैं मतलब अपनी फाउंडेशन के लिए ही आपसे क्वेश्चन पूछना चाहूंगी कि हमारे बहुत सारे लोग वहाँ पे काम करते हैं।
Right. डेफिनेटली सी यहाँ दो चीजें इंपॉर्टेंट हैं। एक तो इमोशनल मेकिंग द पर्सन इमोशनली इंडिपेंडेंट। जो पेरेंट्स हैं उनको ये ज्ञान देना पड़ेगा अपने बच्चों को कि कैसे अपने बच्चों को हम इमोशनली इंडिपेंडेंट, उनके डिसीजन मेकिंग स्किल्स में इंडिपेंडेंट बनाएं, उनकी एबिलिटी टू हैंडल प्रॉब्लम्स और कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स में उनको इंडिपेंडेंट बनाएं। और सेकेंडली ये सब चीजें तभी आएंगी जब हम उनको रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी देंगे, कुछ सिखाएंगे। तो जब तक हम उनको एक स्किल सेट से नहीं ट्रेन करते हैं, एक स्किल सेट जरूर हमें देना जरूरी है बच्चों को, सो दैट हम ये मान सकें कि वो इंडिपेंडेंट बनेंगे। सो वोकेशनल स्किल्स देना बहुत जरूरी है। सो इफ वी आर एबल टू वोकेशनली ट्रेन द किड्स, कि उनको हम कोई एक स्किल सिखा देते हैं, कैंडल मेकिंग सिखा देते हैं, पेपर मैशी सिखा देते हैं, जिससे कि वो क्राफ्ट्स में कुछ सिखा देते हैं, यूज करके उस स्किल से कुछ प्रोडक्ट्स ऐसे बना सकें जो वो बेच सकते हैं और अपना लाइवलीहुड अर्न कर सकते हैं। तो उसमें क्या होगा कि एटलीस्ट उनका जो स्टूडेंट लाइफ का जो टाइम है वो उसको सीखने में निकालेंगे, रादर देन कि वो चाइल्ड लेबर में निकाले। तो उनको ये ज्ञान देना से ऊपर जरूरी है हैंड होल्डिंग, बिकॉज हम लोगों के लिए भी स्किल को सीखना आसान है, उसको जिंदगी भर प्रैक्टिस करना बहुत मुश्किल है। एंड दैट इज द थिंग कि हमें हर चीज को कॉन्टिन्यूअस प्रैक्टिस करना पड़ता है। तो सिमिलरली उन पेरेंट्स के लिए और उन बच्चों के लिए this is an important aspect that training in vocational skill, but वो ट्रेनिंग तब तक चले जब तक वो स्टूडेंट लाइफ में है, so that बाद में जाके वो लोग काम करें।
Brilliant. We have Tanmay who wanted to ask a question. Thank you, Ravindra. I hope you got an answer of your question. आपको आपका सवाल का थोड़ा बहुत जवाब मिल गया है. And we would take Tanmay your question quickly. We have already shot up by 1 more minute. We would take one last question by Loretta, who wanted to ask the question, and then we would say goodbye to each other and with a parting note. So, Tanmay, if you want to ask your question by unmuting yourself and turning your video.
Okay, hello everyone. Hello ma'am, hello sir. I am Tanmay. So basically my question is, there is a world pandemic which is going on in whole the world, and the other word is productivity. Like everyone is suffering from the pandemic, but they are being stressed and depressed because they are not productive or want to be productive in this time. But it should be equally given time to yourself, your conscious self, your mental health. So ma'am, can you say something for the people? Like I can't give them any reason because they want to be a productive, like they don't do anything in this time of pandemic. So
देखिए तन्मय, थैंक यू फॉर द क्वेश्चन। सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट चीज, सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट आपका कहते हैं ना कि लाइफ पार्टनर कौन होता है हमारी जिंदगी में, कौन है जो एक हमारा आइडियल लाइफ पार्टनर है। क्या वो हस्बैंड है, क्या वो वाइफ है, क्या वो पेरेंट्स हैं, क्या वो बच्चे हैं? कोई भी नहीं है। ऑनेस्टली देखा जाए तो हमारा एक ऑनेस्ट लाइफ पार्टनर हमारी अपनी बॉडी है। अगर हम एक्सपेक्ट करें कि कोई हमारा दुख में या सुख में साथ देगा, तो वो हमारी बॉडी है। हमारी जो बॉडी है वो और हमारा माइंड, both of them are very very closely related to each other, right? हमारे माइंड में हमारे जो न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर्स हमारे ब्रेन से रिलीज होते हैं, वो हमारे मूड को डिटरमिन करते हैं। एंडोर्फिन्स जब रिलीज होते हैं, डोपामिन जब सिक्रीट होता है, दे एक्चुअली दे आर हैप्पी हार्मोन्स, सो दे मेक अस फील हैप्पी। उस चीज को हमें समझना है कि हमारा इमोशन और हमारा बॉडी कैसे कोरिलेटेड है। द मोमेंट आई अंडरस्टैंड that is the moment I start doing two things. One, start taking care of my physical health, और जैसे ही ये एंडोर्फिन्स रिलीज होंगे, डोपामिन रिलीज होगा, सेरोटोनिन कंट्रोल होगा, तो ये सारे न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर्स हैं बेसिकली जो हमारे मूड और इमोशन को कंट्रोल कर रहे हैं। तो हमारा जो माइंड है, हमारा जो इमोशन है, इमोशनल एस्पेक्ट जो है, वो भी कंट्रोल में रहेगा। सेल्फ केयर इज डेफिनेटली, लाइक यू सेड तन्मय, शुड बी आवर टॉप मोस्ट प्रायोरिटी, बिकॉज हमें हमारा साथ देने वाला शुरू से, बर्थ से लेकर एंड तक और कोई नहीं है, सिर्फ हमारा शरीर और हम खुद हैं। self care, self love is should be the topmost priority, and lockdown is the opportune time to make the best use of this time to take care of our mind. So doing various things, meditation, yoga, mindfulness practices, exercises, chanting of mantra, so whatever fits your understanding, right? So that is one thing. एंड सेकेंड इज डूइंग समथिंग क्रिएटिव। तो हम दो तरह से अपने इस लॉकडाउन के टाइम को यूज कर सकते हैं, या कंटेंट को कंज्यूम करके या कंटेंट को क्रिएट करके। तो ऐसे ही हमारा ह्यूमन माइंड जो है बिजी रहता है, और कंजम्पशन से क्या होगा कि हम सब इंटरनलाइज कर रहे हैं, क्रिएटिंग से क्या होगा कि हमारी जो अंदर की पोटेंशियल है उसको हम बाहर निकाल रहे हैं। तो ये भी एक दूसरा तरीका है सेल्फ केयर का, कि आपका जिस चीज में भी स्ट्रेंथ है, आप जिस चीज में भी अच्छे हैं, उसमें अपने आप को अपना टाइम स्पेंड करें। इट कुड बी पेंटिंग, इट कुड बी knitting, it could be dancing, it could be aerobics, it could be anything। जो भी चीज आपकी फोटे है, आपका स्ट्रेंथ है, उसमें अपने टाइम को यूज करना है। सो सेल्फ केयर must be the topmost priority. Self care नहीं करेंगे तो हम या physically misfit हो जाएंगे, या हम mentally अपने emotions और अपने thoughts को हम care नहीं कर पाएंगे, और उसकी वजह से mental illnesses होंगी.
I think I'm the live example.
Uh,
Dr. Sachdeva, as you rightly said, self-care is the best care. Trust me, I was going mad.
Yeah.
Really, really going paranoid. I didn't know what exactly to do. Lockdown, you do not know what to do. You're working, that's fine, but work is there for the stipulated time, right? That's at 8-9 hours you're occupied. But what is that after? What is next after that? How long can you keep reading books?
Right.
मैंने अपने सबके सारी किताबें खत्म कर चुके हैं already. I ordered my new set of books. They have come, but I'll read it. But I think lockdown has pushed me to think in this way, Tanmay. I think that's exactly, you can take my example. I probably thought I am good in talking. I've spoken to people. I've done my radio shows for good 2 years. I've met all the stars. So that somehow stayed inside my head. And today is the time I have taken this opportunity to bring all of you together. With this, we'll take the very last question.
Sir,
we have...
Sir, if you don't mind, I have another question. One, please.
Sorry, we have already shot up our 6 minutes time. You can put your question in the chat box. I might ask this question to Dr. Sachdeva. We have one question from Loretta, who has already requested her question to be answered. I hope you understand, and I would look forward to your support on this, because
Okay.
6 था, 6 से already 6-5 हो चुका है. Time is money for everybody. I'm sure everybody has the rest of other engagements. So Tanmay, please, sincere apology, but put your question in the chat box. I would ask before we say goodbye. Loretta, please unmute yourself and ask your question quickly.
Hi, Aastha. It's
Hi,
good to
how are you?
see you again.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm good, good. I'm so glad to hear from you also, and very valuable inputs
Absolutely.
also. So yeah, and as you know, I'm heading a school over here in Solan, in Himachal Pradesh, and the mindset over here, of course, is very different, because our school is set up in a rural area. So it's most of the women, they work in the fields in the daytime. So because I had been in Delhi and Noida, of course, I knew the importance of counseling for students, and I happened to get a counselor over here also in Solan. So,
Lovely.
we have been teaching our children about good touch and bad touch, etc., all these things. And in the process of conversation with the children, I mean, many horrendous things came out. Because over here, they take everybody as a mama and chacha, and they just allow the children very freely to move around with the kids. So when the sessions actually started with the children, I mean, there were quite a few scary things that had come out. And when we called the parents, to tell them about this, was quite a negative response from the parents, and they felt that we were prying too much into the lives of the children, So as a result, what happened is all our efforts of getting counseling done in the school, that really did not work. So my question would basically be to you is that how can we convince these parents that, counseling is really very important, especially in these times? And it's not only for girls, for even boys also. How can we change their mindset and mentality? Yeah.
Ma'am, did you do any sessions with the parents independently, like the counselor interacting with the parents, a group of parents? Did you do that kind of sessions? Okay.
Yeah, because
so how was their response then? Were they responsive to
not
the counseling
very
session?
Yeah, as I told you, most of them felt that she was prying into their lives and she was asking too many questions, about these things. And they felt that, no, this could not be happening. It's not like that. The children are making up things, like that way. So after a couple of sessions with the children,
definitely,
then you would go with the parents.
Okay. So definitely, ma'am, it will be a long road towards establishing the confidence in the parents also, because like you said, it's a rural population where the parents are not open and not aware of the fact that abuse and conflicts in relationships, in child abuse, all of that happens within the homes, within the within the walls of a known setup. So definitely that is something that will come. They will also come to trust over time. And for that, it's a continuous effort of interaction, and for them to develop faith in you as an organization, and to believe that it is for the well-being of their kids that you are doing these sessions, because they are themselves not educated. So that thing of it's for them, it's a myth that kids are kids are abused. For them, it's an unacceptable fact that somebody from the family could do it, or somebody from their own known circle could do it. So it will be a long struggle, because when you look at it from the perspective of even cities, people are not that open to the idea of seeking therapy even now. You could see if one of our participants, Harsimran, put up a question while sitting there in the US. She was like, if we can have it all across as a compulsory thing. So every part of the world is fighting with it, and more so with a population which is not educated, more so with parents who are not open, and they want to be limited to their own domain. So definitely it will be a long drawn process, but with a person as aware and as conscious as as conscious as you are towards mental health, definitely I think over a period of time it will the parents will learn to come along, and they will understand that it's your concern for their well-being that is actually making you get into the process. So building of faith with the parents is the key. So as much as the kids will open up easily, but parents are the ones who will definitely will give into the stigma more. So they need to be destigmatized. So for them, I think more of sessions, more of interactions are required.
Yeah, what I've seen here is that our struggle is more with the parents than with the children. It's a tough struggle with them.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, man. Yeah, thanks for coming in.
In the demography, we have US, we have Poland, we have people in Hyderabad, we have people in Delhi, we have Gurgaon. So it's great to see that. Thank you so very much, everyone, for your patience, for taking this time out to make it a wonderful interactive session. It's been already 12 minutes past time that we have already scheduled for, and Zoom has been so kind that it did not drop off in between. So before we say goodbye to each other, again, I would like to quickly reiterate, please follow GLibTalk and spread the word if you think it is a good initiative by us. You have the Facebook page link, you have the Instagram page link, please follow us. And we have loads of more people are coming in our show. We have the next entrepreneur is coming next week. We have a happiness leader who is coming next week, like we have Dr. Sachdeva this week. We have a sailor, a captain who has been a coach and a mentor right now, and a senior vice president of Goldman Sachs. He's going to be coming in our show. So every Sunday we have our slots booked. And Sojanya, as you rightly mentioned, that yes, I think educated people needs to be more educated. Common sense has become very uncommon these days. People just being educated does not mean they try to know and think they know everything. That's not the thing. We are so ignorant. We are so illiterate about certain things that we can't even imagine. So please take that stigma off. Spread in your limited network that yes, this is not something to be avoided. This is not something to be ignored. This can be detrimental. This can be devastating tomorrow. And again, as Dr. Sachdeva rightly mentioned, love yourself first, because it's you who's going to help you and sustain till the last breath if you accept your life partner, your parents, everyone. With this, Dr. Sachdeva, we would like to thank you so very much for taking this time out. Please say a parting note before we say goodbye to each other. It would be really helpful and would be a great motivation for all of us.
Sure. So I'd just like to quote the words of Henry Bergson. He said that right now we are all facing a kind of an existential crisis, and anybody who's suffering or going through any trauma, mental, physical, and job, the fears of uncertainty, the fear of future, the fear of being judged, and all of that is kind of creating mental illnesses. So Henry Bergson said that to exist is to change is to mature, and to mature is to go on creating oneself effortlessly, endlessly. So to exist is to change is to mature, and to mature is to go on creating oneself endlessly. Have a great day, everyone. And we don't know how much this lockdown, how much of work from home we all have to do, but to exist, please go on creating yourselves as much as possible, as Sir Henry Bergson has motivated us. So thank you so much, Samrat, for having me over. It was a great interaction. It was great, knowing everybody and answering their questions. Thank you all for joining in as well.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so very much, guys. If you really want to reach out to Dr. Sachdeva, please feel free to follow Council on Facebook and reach out to her personally over LinkedIn or on her Instagram page. So with this, we say thank you, everyone. We would be coming up every Sunday, 5 to 6. You would be receiving a feedback email. Please do put your feedback with certain kind words. If you have it in your head for us, it can be good, it can be bad, it can be something brilliant. So thank you very much for being a part of our show, GLibTalk. We were coming with GLibTalk 2.3 very soon. Thank you. Take care. With this, we say goodbye. Have a lovely weekend.
Thank you. Bye.
Stay safe. Stay positive. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, bye.